City of Cleveland Airport Board meeting for July 9th, 2026. If we could stand, and we'll start with the invocation and pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to come and serve the City of Cleveland and the users and tenants at the Cleveland Municipal Airport. We pray for your wisdom and guidance in our discussion. Give us discernment on any decisions that we make, and bless this time together. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Now for the roll call, we'll start at the end. We got Mr. Jake Litwin, board member. Next to him is Greg Model, board member. Brian Stafford, board member. Eric, airport manager. And to my right is Albert Cabrera, board member, and I'm Hugh McFarland, the board chair. We have no one here from the public to provide public comments, so we'll skip past that and move to the reports and comments from board members. So we'll start at the end. Jake, do you have anything to add?
I do have something to add.
Okay.
So I got a huge shout out to Eric. I talked to one of the tenants out there. Said he was. Is that on? Oh, there we go. Got a shout out for Eric. Was hugely helpful for a Cessna 340 getting that in there the other day. I'm sure you know who that's from.
Good. What was it the aircraft in difficulty, or is it just a
I'm sure he can answer that.
Yeah, so he was just, so we had another pilot that was kind of pointing at him and was like, hey, what's going on? And so he was about to take off. Essentially, he had his flaps down, so it was, hey, just make sure your flaps are up before you take off. So.
Oh, excellent. Thanks for your observation. That's good. Mr. Model?
No comment, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Stafford, Brian?
I have one. I recently attended an air show at Texarkana, and they had a very interesting presentation on unleaded fuel for airports. We've kind of talked about this before, but they have this program the EAA has put out. It's called EAGLE, and apparently all airports have to be completely unleaded, in other words, no leaded 100 LL by the year of 2030. So I want to kind of bring this up to see if, I'm new here, so I don't know if y'all have discussed this in the past and what our plans are moving forward to make our airport unleaded.
We have not had this, to my knowledge, any discussion on unleaded aviation fuel. I know it's been a hot topic out on the West Coast for some time, but fortunately it hasn't made it here, to my knowledge. Eric, have you heard anything on that from the management side?
No, and it's kind of been thrown out. I went recently through a fire safety and fuel farm training, and that's thrown out there as well. But I think it'd probably be a good discussion to talk about. I'll get a little bit more research for an agenda item, and then we could talk about that for a next meeting.
Yeah, we certainly need more guidance from the FAA and the engine manufacturers, and there's been a ongoing debate about the safety and the distribution of unleaded avgas. But we certainly want to be, aware and on the front end of that as much as we can. But we haven't had any formal discussions. Yes, sir.
I knew that the debate, and we were certainly moving in that direction nationally, but I'd not heard that we had an absolute date marked in the calendar saying it's got to be done by here. I hadn't heard that yet, so.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
So when y'all research it, go to FAA.gov and just do the search deal and look up the word EAGLE,
Okay.
and it pulls right up.
Okay, great. We'll look into that. Thank you. Albert, do you have anything to add?
Not right now. Thank
Okay. And I didn't have anything in particular to mention on that. So we'll go to the manager's report. Mr. Eric?
We're in the month of, July, so we're collecting the last little bit of rent for that, for the tenants for the airport, and currently trying to get some maintenance issues done, but pretty much that's all I have right now.
I know you had mentioned at one time of, we had a conversation about resurfacing or something, striping and resurfacing with some of the funds. Is that, can you?
Yeah, that's part of the maintenance. Council has approved moving forward using Highlight Aviation Services for remarking of the runway and taxiways. PO has been submitted, and so now we're just waiting for their timeline to get it done. We want to get it done by the end of this month. Depending on how their schedule looks like, we'll see if we could get it done, but it'll probably require a few days of closing to get that done.
Would that entail closing the runway entirely, or could we do it in sections where we could have, say, some access to the runway? Is it?
So I haven't talked to the project manager yet. I'm waiting for his phone call, but from what I gather, it looks like it's going to be closing of the entire runway to get it done. This should be, so they have to demo all the old stuff. So it'll probably take a week, I think, to get all that stuff done.
So we're a week of demo and then restriping. Is this?
Week is demo and installation. So I think it's going to only take just a week in totality.
Okay, so we could, then I would certainly ask that we would get as much notice as we could on that.
As soon as we hear the schedules, we'll definitely push it out to everybody to let everybody be aware of when that's scheduled to happen.
Okay. All right, consideration and possible action on the following approval of meeting minutes from the, we have two meetings, correct? So the regular meeting in February 12th and the special call meeting in March 17th. Anybody recommend the approval of those minutes?
I recommend that the board approve it.
All right, I second it. Yes, on both of those. All right. Ms. Jake, okay. Okay, so the meeting minutes have been approved for the February 12th and March 17th board meetings. Our discussion of possible recommendation to council on the following: the airport layout plan for board member input. So there was a presentation by the city to tenants on this layout plan previously. I personally was not there. I was traveling. And I know we wanted to kind of bring it towards the board to discuss it, and that's what we're trying to accomplish tonight.
And so to accomplish that, we invited Wolpert back over, and so they'll give us a short presentation of what was discussed and their final, hopefully, recommendations for the ALP.
Okay. All right, thank you. Now, are they going to?
Yeah, Eric, we can
Okay.
present our final layout here if you like. I can share my screen
All right, we see
and
that.
present what we have here. Okay, can you see my screen okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Well, on May 18th, we presented a draft layout plan to a city council during workshop, and we received some comments from members of city council as well as attendees, airport tenants at the airport that were there as well. And we've heard you, we've got your comments, and we've made some adjustments to this layout to address those. And this layout that we're looking at here reflects those changes. The primary comment that we received and we've addressed in this centers around the existing terminal building. The thought was it would be beneficial to keep the terminal building as it is today and build around that, that might be usable for future flight school or tenant use, pilot lounge, anybody that is accessing the airfield. One thing that I mentioned during the workshop was our interest in separating the visitors, the non-aeronautical visitors, and general public to the airport from the aircraft movement areas and the remainder of the airfield. And so what we show here is a new terminal building that will house the FBO, lounge facilities, perhaps even a restaurant, just the public use, public access area of the airport. And then right after the entrance of that, and to the next to the parking lot for that, we have a gate that would separate those that are visiting the airport and for general purpose from the tenants and users that have access to the airfield. So we're wanting to separate those visitors, those that have aircraft or a reason to be in the movement area, opposed to those that are just visiting the airport. And so we have a gate here that will separate those uses. Pilots, those that are aeronautical in nature, can drive down the access road as it is today. And then you'll see that there are several turn-off locations for vehicles to access either the far side of the terminal or the hangar areas. There's also roadways that lead to some of the general hangar areas, but these are onto taxiways and movement areas, and that's why we wanted to separate those uses. So, and that's the main reason that we initially thought, well, removing the terminal building as it is today might be beneficial because we're trying to segregate those users. But if it were to stay as pilot use lounge, flight school perhaps, then that building could stay. In our initial plan, we showed a hangar in this location. We could not keep that hangar if we were going to keep the existing terminal building because it would be too close to the runway and taxiway system. So the idea would be to bridge the existing apron to one of the other apron areas and taxi lane areas. We would bridge that to provide a thoroughfare or additional parking, and bridge those pavement areas and retain the terminal area and the facilities within it. The hangar area that we documented at the last time, we showed a mix of T hangars, box hangars. Those would remain here. Our goal is to provide a variety of hangar types to attract and accommodate various users to the airport. So here you see a collection of 14 T hanger, nested T hangars. And then we also have a collection of box hangars. I believe these measure 60 by 60, be able to accommodate, most of the aircraft that are based at the airport today, and many of those that are on the wait list. Another significant project that we're showing in this plan is the redevelopment of this taxiway. The primary purpose for that is to achieve necessary separation to meet FAA design standards. When this airport someday reaches what we call a B2 classification, that would be used to accommodate business jet type aircraft, a greater separation of the taxiway would be necessary in this area. The existing taxiway along this side of the airport is adequate. It's separated by 240 feet. We're looking just to separate this segment in red here, the existing taxiway, by 240 feet. And then that would create this full length parallel taxiway without a jog in it that you have today. This area is shaded in red to show the demolition of this segment of pavement. Main reason for that is to require pilots to take a 90-degree turn as they taxi from the apron area to the runway. The idea here is to avoid a direct connection between the apron and the runway without the pilot having to make a conscious turn. That's an FAA directive. It helps reduce accidental runway incursion by creating a upturn for the pilot to make and consciously renew his kind of awareness of where he is on the airfield, taxiway versus runway. Here we're showing additional apron area, just the expansion of this to allow for an increased aircraft taxiing and parking near the terminal area. So it's kind of an easy in and out type of operation here, letting pilots and transients use this area. This area would be served by fuel through a fuel truck. We would keep the existing fuel facilities where they are. They would be in any future fuel expansion or development would be still accommodated within this area if we need to. We have plenty of room for expansion or changes in the fuel system in this area if they were necessary. This hangar, which is really not there today, we're showing as existing because there is an existing plan for this box hangar here. Now, we showed some options for accessing that. Either it would be within this area here, this existing taxi lane, or we've shown some additional pavement if the hangar were to have an access to this area. They would be able to access it from either this side or this side, depending on how the doors are configured and the building is erected. You can see we're adding vehicle parking throughout this layout just to expand parking for users and tenants, visitors down here at the terminal building and so on. So there weren't a lot of changes from our initial draft. I wanted to just briefly go over the entire plan with you, just because I know some of you were not there at our workshop with the City Council, but be happy to address any questions or comments that you may have.
I have one, Tony, on that red section of the area that you described to prevent the aircraft from, entering the runway. You said they wanted to make a 90-degree turn, that area right there. Is that?
Yes.
How is that accomplished? Because that looks like they're just,
It could be one of two ways. This we're showing as demo. We would demo this pavement.
okay,
However, there is the option to simply paint that pavement. You might have seen at some commercial airports where they have areas of pavement painted green, kind of like an island. That's a possibility here without having to remove the pavement. You could actually stripe it, paint a solid color so that it's obvious to a pilot that this is not movement area.
okay. And the other sections up along the main entrance road, abeam where the aviation,
Right here?
yeah, those sections that are red in there, what is that indicating?
That's the removal of pavement. So here we have the entrance road going to the existing terminal building. That would come out. That would allow us to build additional hangars here. Some existing taxiway connections and roadway connections we would modify. We would narrow this existing, what's existing as kind of like a taxiway today. We would basically reconstruct this as roadway for vehicle access and not aircraft. And then we would build a new taxiway connector here to allow a more efficient use of aircraft movement without having to go where parked vehicles are or down here where we have hangar development. So this red area here, as well as this, is shown in red to represent demolished pavement.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Tony, this is Greg Model, and thank you again for joining us this evening. I did attend the workshop, and I thought of something else after that I wanted to bring up tonight, and that is on the north side during the demo area where currently Hangar Q rests, and that's being marked for demolition, which we expect. So as tenants of the field who hangar, do their self-service fuel, they're ready to depart on runway 16. What's your vision for the run-up area?
Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning. We did not show a run-up area here. Generally, you would have a run-up. I will look into that, but I do like that idea. Similar to the other end of the runway, we're showing a run-up area right here at the corner where the turn is. I'm not sure if we have enough room to illustrate the run-up area without being on this pavement right here. The run-up should stand by itself and not be connected to other areas like this apron pavement here. So I will absolutely do that, show a run-up area here. That might mean that we have to narrow this pavement here, which I don't think is a deal breaker. I think we could narrow this slightly and then show our run-up area here. I like that idea. Thank you.
And Tony, while we're on that topic, where you currently have your cursor, that white pavement area, that's existing pavement, that's typically what is used as a run-up now. Runway 16, as I know you're aware, is our primary use runway, because during calm winds or predominant southerly winds, that's where we are. So a lot of heavy traffic, so we do need some segregation where people are not having to remain on the taxiway in order to do their run-up. So whatever that
Right.
solution is, I think it is something. I do have a question, though.
Okay.
Since, is it, I don't know the right word, is it out of bounds, so to speak, to have a run-up area, in this case, north of the threshold of 6, even though it's offset in line with the taxiway? Is that in a runway protection zone or whatever the right phrase is? Or is that allowable in the new construction?
That's a great question, and it is not in the runway protection zone. That's starting right here, identified, but it is not an FAA design standard to construct it before the threshold like it is today.
Okay.
We would seek to have it in line or before the threshold if you're taxiing down this taxiway. So I would not continue to show this. This is not a customary layout that the FAA and TxDOT would be supportive of.
But it could be used for parking for the terminal building.
Yes, it could be. Yeah, absolutely. That's why we've kept it here. We're not showing that in red. We do want to continue to use that. That's valuable pavement. You can park aircraft, you can move and station them on this apron. It just would not be a way to access the runway from a run-up area.
Okay.
If I could add something to that, Tony, that area, if you move back on taxiway Alpha as you're moving from that area where your cursor is, if you, just to the north of that, if it bulged out, kind of,
Oh, right here?
let's see where you,
I'm at the intersection
Okay.
of the taxiway and a
all right.
connector.
Yeah, if you go towards the approach into 16 on that taxiway, and then after you pass that last hangar and this Alpha, Alpha hangar there, if you keep going to the
Okay,
northwest there, and
okay,
right after that little taxiway area there, if the taxiway, if it bulged out from there and encroached on that dark gray parking area and then terminated prior to that entrance taxiway, it would allow people that are coming from all the hangars and T-hangars to conduct their run-up prior to that taxiway that leads on to the runway, approaching the runway, and people that would not block the transient people coming from the FBO, city building there onto the runway, so that taxiway is not encumbered for people trying to do run-up. Everything is conducted to the southeast of that final taxiway, and you would lose some aircraft parking in that area, but that could maybe be accomplished with that area, the white area that Gray was mentioning, and because I don't think you want aircraft congregating down at the approach-in taxiway entrance to the runway trying to do run-ups. So
Right.
right where your cursor is there, if that bulged out and into a.
Yeah, bulged out into here.
Yes, yes, sir. And
Yeah,
all that was
that-
considered the run-up area, and then
Yeah.
you would have the taxiway that would connect that new ramp area. Wouldn't be, so anybody that goes past that, they're ready for departure. They're not being held up if they're waiting their IFR clearance or whatnot. We don't,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, that's exactly what my thinking is that we put that run-up area somewhere along here, and you're right, that would require us to narrow this slightly, but that is fine. We have abundant area here. We initially showed this area wide enough to allow aircraft to fully station outside of this hangar right here. That's why it's as wide as it is. We can narrow it and allow aircraft to taxi here back and forth, but it may require aircraft that are in these just along the face of these hangars here to only stage briefly to allow aircraft to move back and forth along those hangars without, impeding traffic.
okay. Yeah, from this diagram, it looks like the people in that parallel hangar complex would enter the taxiway from that southeast side. So they wouldn't come in right into that grade area. They would go out to the southeast.
Right.
Then to the west, and then join that taxiway, right?
Right.
Just
Yeah,
like they
right.
do
And
today.
this,
Yep.
right, just like they do today.
Okay.
This configuration essentially allows for aircraft to taxi past them as they're in position on this taxi lane right here.
Okay,
If we have to narrow this and take out some of this new pavement here, we might have to share this taxi lane with those aircraft going to the terminal area and the ones that are staging outside of these hangars.
but wouldn't that area, that parallel, what complex is that? That's Alpha complex? Okay, Alpha hangars?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that segregated from this tenant general parking area? Because you're wanting to segregate general population transients
Yeah.
from based, correct? Based area.
Yes. The fence or gate would be right here, right behind the turn into the terminal building.
Okay,
So
so,
this will all be tenant and private use, aeronautical.
but you're saying that they're sharing this taxiway, the tenants and that?
The aircraft that are taxiing to this terminal building
Mhm.
would taxi along this gray section here
Right,
and but would be separated far enough to allow aircraft to stand by out here in front of those hangars at the same time. If we have to narrow this, we may not be able to have that dual aircraft access in this area. That's what I'm getting at.
okay, I follow you now better.
Okay.
So, because you don't
Yeah,
have the
sorry.
taxiway connecting, if you go all the way to the approach end of 1-6, that taxiway that makes it, right there?
Right.
We
right.
can't access
That's
that new area with the taxiway that connecting there?
No, we can't do that. For one, we have direct apron
Right.
to runway access, like I was talking about down here. We
Understood.
would effectively be recreating that if
Yeah.
we copied that down here.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the other issue is, like run up and movement area before the threshold. That should be here. And that's why we've separated these two areas effectively with an island in between.
Okay,
So Tony, this whole area but with the parallel hangar, that I guess the Alpha hangar and the new area, all that apron is all shared. There's no barrier separating those two. I think that's what you're getting at, sir.
Yes.
It's all open, but then the only access to the to the runway is through,
This
is
connection.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking there was
So
a
this-
barrier or something in between there to.
No,
Yes.
no,
Yeah,
there's
it's all
no
open.
barrier. It's kind of hard to visualize when you have two different colors like this, but yeah, would consider this all one apron,
Okay,
a one movement pavement area
okay,
when it's all done. The same for this. This will be a large apron, much larger than what it looks like here when dark gray, because we'll be maintaining this existing white pavement area that we have today. So it'll be connected to it. This will be a pretty sizable apron area, not much smaller than what we see down here.
okay. Is there anything at the 3-4 end that is not visible on this diagram?
No, sir, we didn't show any other development. I'll show the whole layout. This drawing shows what we call a variety of building restriction lines. I'm sorry, it's a little messy, but it shows us what building heights we're restricted to. But no, you can see down here on the 3-4 end, we don't have any additional landside facilities. We are recommending runway end identifier lights on each end of the runway. That'll be included in the plan. That's just not shown here.
Okay. And the area that's on the service road that goes around the I guess that would be the east side, is that already,
Here.
is that airport property currently? Is that,
Yes.
okay. So
Well,
there's
it's,
no land acquisition that has to take place to accommodate what you've drawn?
it might be part of economic development, but it's in the county's purview, yes.
Okay, all right.
Tony, this is Greg again. Just a gee whiz question. Some of the things that are designated in green as box hangers, is that all interchangeable? If at some point in the future, due to demand, the city would to decide to make those nested T hangers instead, all of that is part of the evolution of this plan, correct?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, that's an important point to bring up, that this is just a basic idea of the direction that the airport may want to go. This plan is changeable. TxDOT is not going to hold your feet to the fire, so to speak, with all of this development. It's very flexible. The idea is to show a concept of growth, a way to meet a variety of needs. And if that changes over time, this is certainly revisable. Not just the types of hangars, but the layout itself is really not set in stone. It can change over time based upon the airport's needs and the community and its focus on airport development.
And one last question, then I don't mean to dominate this thing, but right there on the west side of the existing terminal building, where you've added pavement in dark gray, and then immediately west of it is still the light green, the elongated, that is grass, I presume.
Yeah, that's grass to maintain what we call a taxiway object-free area.
Okay,
So that emits from the center line of the taxi lane to the edges of these buildings and to not quite the edge of this pavement here. It's in that green area. So we try to preserve pavement area. It's really more toward close to the edge of these green buildings here.
okay,
That's the edge of the taxiway object-free area.
okay. And I was actually referring to the one even further west than that, right adjacent to Taxiway Alpha. That's the.
Oh, this area
Well,
here?
it'll be even further south.
It-
I mean, west,
there.
further west. Excuse
Right.
me. I'm
Right along the taxiway, Tony.
right along the
Right
Taxiway
below.
Alpha. Keep coming
Oh.
down. There we go.
Yep,
That
yeah,
one
right there.
That
Yeah.
light green area there, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I'm sorry,
okay.
yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, this is preserved as essentially island area in between the taxiway. This is the typical, island that you would see between an apron area and a taxiway. It's certainly developable. I mean, you have that today. You have a taxiway along the edge of the apron, which is very, very common. But in this layout, we chose to preserve that island there. It really you wouldn't gain a whole lot if you were to develop this. You might have room for additional tie downs, but you would not have room for any structures. It's too close to the runway.
What is the distance, the closest distance you can be to a taxiway with the structure? Like you had mentioned, you had taken away your original plan for the box hangar that would overlap the existing terminal building. You had to delete that plan because it was too close to the planned taxiway, I think you said? What is that distance? Just curious.
In our ultimate configuration, we're attempting to accommodate C2 aircraft, which is mid-size corporate jet. The taxi lane object-free area, which is related to all these the pavement in between hangars, is 110 feet of separation. That's from edge to edge of that object-free area, or, or what is it, 55 feet from the center line of the taxiway, or taxi lane in this case, going out.
Okay, thank you, Tony.
You're welcome. It's a greater separation requirement for the taxiway itself. Taxi lanes, they can be a little bit closer together because the aircraft are moving slower. But the way to think about it is a taxi lane serves a taxiway. It leads to a taxiway, and a taxiway leads to a runway. So we have a lot of taxi lanes in this configuration, as you can tell.
Sir, question, what is the number of new hangars that we're expecting?
Any other questions, comments, or ideas?
Yes, sir, hello. What is the number of new hangars we're expecting to have at the airport?
We have 14 T hangars in this configuration. And then we have, I believe it was 14, maybe I might be wrong here. We've got 6, 11, 14, and 18 box hangars. Like I said, these I believe are 60 by 60. This one to clear a right of way for a gas line. This is a little smaller. This is a 50 by 50. But there's some definite growth opportunities here. 18 box hangars, 14 T hangars. That's not quite doubling the capacity of the airport, but the airport does have a significant wait list. This plan is intended to provide some flexibility so that you can develop as warrant demands. If you saw, interest in a tenant coming to the airport that was really interested in a box hangar, not necessarily a T hangar, you could give them an idea of where the airport envisions that happening. If the city or a developer was interested in constructing a T hangar complex, you have a plan for that. So it all depends on, the initiative behind it. These are ideas of where they can go. And like I said before, it can change.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else?
Yes, sir, a couple more, if I may. What is the timeline for actually make a commitment on building these hangars and doing all these renovations?
We're going to do, after the plan is approved, we do a phased cost estimate around these projects, and we phase them into a 0 to 5 year time frame, 5 to 10, and then a 10 to 20 year time frame. That's really just for developing cost estimates behind them. It's not necessarily phasing the projects because, like I said, the demand for these facilities might come and go depending upon interest. So we're really just wanting to show what the rough cost would be for developing each kind of structure. The exact timing of all of this is really up to the city and the interest that tenants display.
What's the atmosphere right now with the city as far as when to start doing it?
That might be a better question for Eric.
Right on. Sir, one more thing. I heard you say you're going to put rail lights, runway and identifier lights. That's definitely a huge thing that we need. The runway needs it. What about approach lighting, non-precision approach lightings on both ends, 1.6 and 3.4? I heard you mentioning we have a goal to bring at least up to mid-size level jets. Regardless, approach lights is a safety issue for all types of aircraft, but it's certainly something that would attract heavier aircraft for the safety reason as well. Is there any talks going on putting a system like, for example, ODALs, which would be a basic non-precision approach lights on both runways?
Yeah, I did not show those because the ODAL system that would effectively lower your minimums would be nice, but the obstructions that we have along the length of the runway that are representing those trees on the other side of the runway, a lot of clearing would be necessary to just bring your minimums down, and it would only result in a reduction of about an 1/8 mile visibility improvement.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry?
I didn't mean to interrupt, but even without the lowering of the minimums, just to be able to find the runway when you come from different directions, that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, oh, I agree. And yeah, the approach lighting system we're talking about is somewhat similar to ODAL's. It doesn't have lead-in lights, but the runway end identifier lights that I'm talking about are strobes that are adjacent to each end of each runway end. So you have two on one end. They're not just threshold lights that show the barrier, but they're flashing strobes that pilots use to identify the runway end. And that's really the best method for identifying runway end and really a simple way to improve the approach and the visibility of the runway for pilots.
I agree. And
So
I'm
that's
Yes, sir.
what we're talking about for E10.
Yes, sir, I'm familiar with rails, but
Okay.
I wanted to also add a little small rabbit, what they
Okay.
call a rabbit light, that leads onto or into the runway threshold.
Okay.
Which is something like
Yeah.
ODALs or similar.
Yeah.
That's what it provides. That's incredibly helpful when you're coming in from a distance and you're coming in at an angle. So
Sure.
adding
can
that would
certainly
be
show
a
that.
good discussion to have. That's what we're trying to bring up. We would like to have it, I would say. I would take
Okay.
the liberty to say, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We will definitely show those. Be happy to, just providing some reasoning behind what we showed. But yeah, the ODALs leading to the reels would be a very nice system to provide, additional guidance to the runway ends.
Yes, sir. And I'm not sure about the distance. I think it's 1,500 feet. I don't know if we would have that on 1.6. Maybe we would. It would be close, but something that I think we should be able to look at. I hope that you guys can look at. Sir, one last comment is
Yeah.
that some of the
Yeah,
drainage ditches, yeah, that distance right there. I'm not sure how long it is, but
Oh,
off of
well,
1.6.
it-
1.6 all the way
it-
to the roadway, yeah. I think
it's probably
close.
less than well, this is less than 1,000 feet. Just as a way of measuring the distance from the threshold here to these aiming bars, that's 1,000 feet.
Okay,
So the ODAL system, it can go over the road and into neighboring property if you were to acquire it or get easement to install a light there. That's definitely possible.
yes, sir.
But it may go into the property on the other side of the road.
Yes, sir.
We're going to have to move from this topic for sake of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was there anything else that we can build on that? Tony, did you have anything else as far as that you wanted to?
No, sir. I've got some good direction here from this call. We'll make some slight modifications, show the lights that we talked about, and finalize the layout. And then I will pass the final development plan on to Eric and to review further or approve, and we wrap up this project.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate your time and attention to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Take care.
All right, moving, we wanted to talk briefly on this item 3.
I'm
Great.
sorry, before we move on.
Yes, sir.
what is the deadline that we need to have input gathered and provided to the city and Woolpert before they go forward with a plan to present to city council for approval?
So right now, we gave, you gave recommendations on what you would like to see. They'll put that together, provide it to us. We'll make sure we look at it, see it meets the recommendations of the city, then we present it to city council, but we just have to get them to get into on an agenda to get that finalized, right? So it just depends on Woolpert, on whenever their recommendations that we came up with
I just
today.
didn't know if there was a contractual, timeline that we're needing to have this done. In other words, is there some calendar date driving decisions that we need to be mindful of? And the reason I ask, Eric, let me tell you the why first, then I'll let you answer it. The reason I ask is that we had the workshop and we had a few people come. And thankfully you came to the last EA meeting and you presented some stuff there. So what we've done is we've seeded this idea to the tenants. Now, a lot of them are talking and thinking, but I'm not sure we've really gathered all the input that might be out there still, we may want to consider, we being the city and the council wants to consider before coming up with a plan for approval. And so I'd like to allow that opportunity to exist. Now, if there's a hard deadline somewhere that needs to be met, then I think we need to adjust our timelines to gather the input we can from the tenants so that we can provide it in a timely fashion and everyone feels like they've had that opportunity to provide it to either whether that be through the advisory board or directly to you, Eric, but at least we've had that opportunity to make sure everybody understands we need to know that by this time, here's the information, here's the current update where we are, just to kind of get that going. And I think it'll be a lot smoother being accepted by the community if we were able to do something like that. So that's why I was asking if there's a deadline.
So, yeah, I'll reach out to Woolpert to see if they, if they have a deadline. We'd like to get this wrapped up sooner than later so we could implement this airport layout plan so we could, for future, budgetary years, so we could budget some of these things out because I tried to get some MPE funds, finding out that I had to submit last month, then I'm leaving money on the table, right? So the sooner we could get this thing done, the better is the plan for future improvements of the ALP. So I'll reach out to Woolpert and see what's their timeline of this, and I'll let you know and let the tenants know as well.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. We certainly don't want to be caught short on, yes, sir.
I just wanted to add to that. Our fiscal year starts October 1. We do a council retreat as well, so we kind of want to probably have it some type before that. So October 1, because like I said, Eric has a lot of funds that we could dip into, so we want to kind of have projects already set aside that we want to kind of prioritize based off of this plan, so we know where to allocate that money to in the future.
Right.
So October 1 is kind of where we're going to start. I'm not saying that has to be, but we would like to have it around that time.
Okay.
So we can kind of have a strategy moving forward.
Yeah, and I
with the
think that
funding.
gives us a time frame we can work within.
Right.
That'd be my recommendation, Hugh, that we consider,
Absolutely.
facilitating something to gather it in time to meet that deadline. So,
Okay, thank you. The traffic pattern assessments with restriction, how has this been going? I know it's published, and Eric, we're interested in the feedback that you're getting
Yeah.
from the users.
So we finally got it approved by the FAA to get it done. So you'll see it in our supplement, touch and go landing operations prohibited when 4 or more aircraft in the pattern. We had some of local instructors that we have enforced these, some of these recommendations, and we have seen, the flight schools abide by these and either go to another airport or, do their full stops and let people in or out. So it's had been working effectively, and I'm glad that we were able to get something like that done and published.
And let me just read this, what is published in the, terminal procedures, the green book. It says, TGL, touch and go landing operations, abbreviated by OPNS, operations prohibited when 4 or more aircraft operating in traffic pattern. So it's pretty clear, that makes sense to to me, and I think, so we're very interested in the feedback and how, if this does mitigate some of the congestion in the pattern going forward, if you just kind of keep us apprised of that, Eric, we'd appreciate that. Progress update on runway 34 approach. I know that was kind of hinging on this airport layout plan. Has there been any movement or any discussion with FAA on that?
So, so it has been submitted. I spoke with, Joseph, spoke with the FAA about it. So now they're in the, feasibility study phase of it. So now they have to do the feasibility study. Once that's, complete, then we'll know if we have to cut down trees or anything like that for that approach. And then if that's the case, we'll have to cut them tree downs to make sure we can, meet those requirements. Then once that happens, then they'll do another, approach to see if everything that we've done was met. And then once that happens, it could be approved if nothing else, hinders that approval. So it might, from what I understand, this thing's going to take, some more time. So,
But the discussion is, I mean.
Oh, yeah, it's
Dialogue is in progress,
it's in-
because we know this is probably 2 or 3 years out.
At least.
I mean, in the way the FAA and all that stuff. But as long as we're moving in that direction and it's initiated and started.
yeah, it's initiated and we're in the queue for the feasibility study now.
Okay, great, thank you. And on item 5, the last item, I kind of pushed for this a little bit, with that, after the hangar and rate increase and all that, is if there's any way that we can kind of show a little bit of appreciation to the tenants, if there's anything that we can do for a fuel incentive, a special day for buy fuel to get a discount, anything there that, if there's any more thought on that?
So we've been looking at some ideas, maybe something, like that, to have a fly-in and reduce prices and stuff like that. But as far as, so gas prices are trending down. And so, and the prices that we currently have now, if you look, in a 40-mile radius, we're very competitive of what we're doing. But of course, we would love to, pass, on some things as tenants, but we have to make sure that, that we do those with some type of event, so we could draw some people in to, pass those savings on to everybody. But we're still looking at options to see what we could do and, and how much and, what's the value added to it. Of course, everybody loves to save on a little bit, and we'll try to do our best to look at what we can do and maybe come up with an event to show that appreciation.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking, kind of pushing for maybe one day of the week or a month, whether it be every week on a certain day or once a month or something to spur, people to come and buy more fuel, because, and one other thing on that item, has there been any change in the pricing method that we had discussed earlier in several meetings ago as far as how we would price fuel? I know the price is up now, I know costs have gone up, but has there been a change in the pricing strategy that we discussed earlier?
No change in the pricing strategy. We still try to maintain, the profit margins that, that we try to abide by, and depending on the market of what the gas is going, we're trying to stay in that, and also looking at market rate of what everybody else is charging, and try to be, the best around to drive people in without ruining our the profit margin that we need to stay in to build some of these projects. Because like the ALP, yes, we'll have some grant money to help with that from FAA and TxDOT, but all the hangar stuff is going to come from us. So the more that we can raise to get those things done, the better it is, the more likely it is to get these hangars done. So as long as we keep trying to meet those profit margins to put back into the airport, to build these facilities and build some of these amenities, is going to help tremendously. So we're trying to do the best possible way to make money as well as provide savings to everybody, and it's a hard thing to do, but we're trying.
All right, thank you so much. That concludes that. Any request a motion to end the meeting, please?
I move that we
Adjourn? All right. Albert, you second it? All right, thank you.